Hello student. Today we are going to talk about the topic that is nothing but the diversity of cryptogams. Now it is the most important topic because it belongs to the topic of our title of our paper, and that's why we are going to understand what is meant by diversity, what is meant by cryptogams. All these things we are going to discuss in this lecture. Now we know that diversity is nothing but the variety among that particular subject or that particular organisms. Say for example, when we talk about the biodiversity, we can say the diversity among the living organism, we call it as a biodiversity. The same thing here, in a diversity of cryptogams, we are going to talk about the diversity among the different cryptogams which is available on the earth. Now the question is there, what is cryptogams? Now as we talk about the cryptogams, it is very essential to talk about to go in detail about the plants. What are the plants, what are the types of plants? So in today's lecture we are going to talk about this particular cryptogams and diversity of these cryptogams. Now here, first of all we are going to take a look towards the classification of plants. So as we know that plants are classified in two main groups. One is known as cryptogams, and on the other hand there is the another group that we called it as a phanerogams. Now the basic thing that is nothing but the cryptogams. Cryptogams are the seedless plants. So they never bear the seeds and they are known as seedless plants. On the other hand, we can say that there is another group of plants that is known as phanerogams, and this phanerogams is having the characteristic that is nothing but the seed bearing plants. So on earth we can say that there are two plants or two types of plants. One can produce the seeds and another they cannot produce their seeds. So simply we can say that the mode of reproduction in these two plants are different. So cryptogams are the plants which cannot produce the seeds. On the other hand, phanerogams are the plants though these produce the seeds, or they bear the seed bearing plants, we call it as a phanerogams. Now phanerogams are the general plants we can see with our eyes and commonly we can see. But the cryptogams are different plants, or we can say different kinds of plants that we can see, but we cannot say that these are the cryptogams and these are the phanerogams. When we are going to concentrate on this type of plant, then only we will get that okay, these are nothing but the phanerogams and these are nothing but the cryptogams. Now what are cryptogams? Now the question is there, what are the cryptogams? Cryptogams refer to the seedless plant or plant-like organism. So plant-like organism means they are nothing but the plants or the not that much developed plants, we can say they are cryptogams. Cryptogams form a subkingdom in the kingdom Plantae called cryptogamy. Then the major characteristics of cryptogam is that they reproduce by means of spores. So instead of producing seed, they reproduce by spores. Therefore, cryptogams do not produce flower, seed or fruits. So on the other hand, cryptogams are also known as flowerless plant. Means those plants which cannot produce flower, we call them as a cryptogams. So the first thing, cryptogams refer to the seedless plant or plant-like organism. They are not exactly we can say the animal, but the developing plant we can say it is in the form of developing stage. Cryptogams form a subkingdom in the kingdom Plantae called cryptogamy. So the another cryptogamy is the kingdom. The major characteristics of cryptogamy is that they produce by the means of spores. They cannot produce flower, they cannot produce the seed, or they cannot do the pollination like process, and they all are known as, or these are nothing but the characteristics of the cryptogams. So now the question arises, what is the example of this cryptogam? Can anybody tell? Yes, the lower plant basically we can say the cryptogams. Say for example thallophyta or thallus bearing plants we can include in this particular thing that we called it as a cryptogams. So these are the basic characteristics. Along with this, they consist of hidden reproductive organ, means their reproductive organs are not seen by our eyes. Say for example in a hibiscus, what we can see? We can see our with our visualize or with our eyes we can see that there is a production of flower, and in some plants this flower leads to produce the seed or fruit. Many plants bodies of cryptogams are not differentiated into true leaves, stems and roots, so they produces thallus like structure. Many of them do not have the vascular system as well as, so they are not much developed plants, and the subkingdom Cryptogamy is further divided into phyla, that is phylum Thallophyta and phylum Bryophyta and phylum Pteridophyta. So again, when we talk about the development of plants, means in the developing stage of plants, we can say that these are the most primitive plant, and they later on develop and produce the developed plants. So these are the undeveloped, or we can say in a developing stage they are primitive plants. These plants will get developed and we can see the nowadays plants. Say for example mango tree. So mango tree is developed plant, so we cannot include it in a cryptogamy. But what in a cryptogam there will be a three phylum: Thallophyta, Bryophyta and Pteridophyta. These are the three phylum which is included in the cryptogamy. Now what is Thallophyta? What we called about Thallophyta? Thallophyta consists of both unicellular and multicellular organism. So it is having a thallus, and that's why they are known as Thallophyta. Sometimes they are unicellular, but generally they are multicellular. The multicellular body can be either thallus or a filamentous. Thallophyta comprises organisms that belongs to three kingdoms like kingdom Monera, kingdom Protista and kingdom Fungi. So basically there will be a three kingdom Monera, kingdom Protista and kingdom Fungi in this particular Thallophyta, and they are thallus like organism. Sometimes they are unicellular, or sometimes you can see they act as a multicellular organism also. And the example of this particular thing, Thallophyta, is nothing but the or we can say there will be a three kingdoms: kingdom Monera, kingdom Protista and kingdom Fungi. So they are nothing but the Thallophyta. The blue-green algae or blue-green bacteria of the kingdom Monera belongs to Thallophyta. The kingdom Protista are red, green and brown algae belongs to Thallophyta. And moreover, all fungi along with the lichens belongs to Thallophyta. So all these organisms shows the thallus-like structure, and they are included in a cryptogamy, or it is included, or it is known as the cryptogams. So these are the example of cryptogams. Now moving to the next kingdom, that is the Pteridophyta. Pteridophyta consists of ferns. Ferns are well-developed plants that grow in dry environments. They also grow in wet environments. Ferns shows the alternation of generation along with the prominent sporophyte. So sporophyte is prominent in this particular pteridophytes, and ferns are differentiated into true leaves, stem, root. Ferns are vascular plants. Now when we talk about the development in plants, the first organism which developed as a plant, we called it as a Thallophyta. This Thallophyta is having some development, and it is nothing but the Pteridophyta, because Pteridophyta shows the presence of vascular system, and they are not much developed, but they have some better development than that of Thallophyta. So after Thallophyta we can say there is a Pteridophytes, and Pteridophytes is having the vascular structure or vascular system is developed in this particular Pteridophyta, and the example of pteridophytes is nothing but the fern. Okay. Now what are the phanerogams? Phanerogams refers to seed bearing plants. Okay. After the cryptogams, the one thing is remaining in this particular, that is nothing but the bryophyta. So bryophyta is the another group which is we can say not much developed, but it is developed than that of the thallophyta. The another thing which we are going to discuss, that is nothing but the phanerogams. Phanerogams are referred to the seed bearing plant. Obviously they produce the flowers also. Phanerogams are also called spermatophytes because they produce the sperm-like structure, or sperms-like structure is originated in this particular plant. Phanerogams form subkingdom in the kingdom Plantae called Phanerogamy. So Cryptogamy is one of the kingdom, and another kingdom that we call it as a Phanerogamy. So these are the two kingdoms which appears in a classification of plants. Now when we talk about phanerogams, the one most important characteristics is there, that is the flower is produced in this phanerogam. So flower or without flower, these are the two most things in a cryptogams and phanerogams, just like seed bearing plant and seed not bearing plant. So these are the two most important difference between the phanerogams and the cryptogams. Now the major characteristics of phanerogam is they produce the seed. Obviously they produce seed after the production of flowers. So seed and flowers are produced in these particular phanerogams. Phanerogams are vascular plants with differentiated body structures into leaves, stems and root. So here body is there. Okay. So they are going to produce leaves, stem and roots. The subkingdom Phanerogamy is further divided into gymnosperm and angiosperm. So gymnosperm that we know, and angiosperm is also the another subdivision, or we can say it is divided into the group known as gymnosperms and angiosperm. Now when we talk about this gymnosperms are non-flowering plants that produce naked seed. Okay. So what we say, they are seed bearing plant, but the seed are naked seed, means seed we can see with our eyes. Gymnosperms are monopods since they develop from a single seed leaf or single seed leaf or cotyledon. So they are monocotyledon plants. Now they are vascular plants with unbranched parallel vein system into the leaves. Gymnosperms can be divided into four phyla: phylum Cyanidophyta, phylum Gingophyta, phylum Coniliophyta and phylum Nettophyta. Now moving to the next, that is nothing but the angiosperm of the phanerogams, or under the phanerogam side we can say that gymnosperm and angiosperms are there. So angiosperm. Now angiosperms are the plants which bears the seeds, or the seeds of these angiosperms are closed. So angiosperms are the flowering plants that produce seeds covered by a fruit. So there is one covering, and in that particular covering the seeds are protected. They can be either monocot or dicot. So they produce as a monocotyledon, or they are produced as a dicotyledons. Angiosperms consist of highly differentiated vascular system, and they are the most prominent type of organism. Their reproductive structure is the flower, and in a flower we can say there is a different organs, like anther is there, then androecium is there. Along with that we can say there is gynoecium is there, pistil is there, ovary is there, ovule is there. These all structures are present in the flower, in a particular we call as angiosperm. So we can say that the two main groups are there. One is known as phanerogams and another is known as cryptogams. Now when we concentrate on cryptogams only, the cryptogams is further divided as a thallophyta, bryophyta and pteridophyta. So they are primitive type of plants. They have not much developed vascular system. They do not produce flower, or they do not produce the seed. they reproduce by the production of spores. So they are nothing but the cryptogams. On the other hand, we can say that there is a phanerogams, which we called it as a seed bearing plants. They produce the seed, and these phanerogams are particularly divided into two basic developmental stages, and on the basis of that stages we can divide this phanerogam as a angiosperm and gymnosperm, or gymnosperm or and angiosperm. Gymnosperms are the plants which produce the naked fruit. That means there is no any covering to this particular seed, or flower is not produced in gymnosperm. On the other hand, we can say there is a presence of angiosperm. These angiosperms are the seed bearing plant which seeds are coated and it is covered in a fruit. Also they produce the flower, and this flower is having a different organs. By means of these organs, the seed are produced by the ovules in a ovary. So this is nothing but the total discussion about the phanerogams and cryptogams. Thank you.